Hi, so I hope you've enjoyed this series on loving well and that it's helped us to create a culture where we can really do that. And I'd love to be part of a church, and I think I am really, where we have a prior commitment to honouring and blessing the person that we're going to see next, where we value everybody and love people equally. Uh, there's some that we're trying to nurture and encourage and develop and release like parents, but we're loving everyone equally as brothers and sisters. And and we're blessing the poor and seeking not just to do stuff to the poor, but to do stuff with the poor, to invest in the poor, to give people a leg up and not just a hand out. And we're practicing hospitality. We're creating networks and a culture where the stranger is welcomed and loved, where people uh, uh, where we stretch ourselves to learn from each other, where we lean in to each other, and I think that's such a great phrase as we learn to love well, to lean in, to listen, to hear, to not to be shocked by stuff that people say, but to seek to understand and to lean in with love. And today we're thinking about when it all goes wrong. And Paul tells us in Romans chapter 12 not to take revenge, which is such a hard thing, isn't it? We want to shout, we want to lash out. Some of us want to use our fists, some of us want to use our mouths, but we want to lash out. And Paul says, don't take revenge, my friends. He says, um, and uh, and I just wonder when you've been tempted to do that, what sort of form that normally takes for you, and how you can start to think differently, to use your mind to love well, so that you start to imagine scenarios where you're not going to take revenge, so that you can start to live differently in this, and rather than take take revenge, to do what's right, to find something positive to do. Uh, Paul says, doesn't he, as far as it depends on us, this is always very practical because it can't always be true, but to live at peace with everyone, to do peace, to actively, because peace is a verb, to actively um, pursue, implement, do peace. And I wondered if you know people who do that, who are deliberate peacemakers. Often the middle child is a peacemaker, aren't they? Sometimes there's folk who have the unfortunate position where they're seeking to make peace between their parents all the time, which really isn't their responsibility. And yet, as adults, as mature believers, we can take responsibility to be peacemakers. Jesus said, "Blessed are the peacemakers," and we're to actively pursue peace, to do peace, to peace it. And then he says, leave room for God. And I think that's so important in all our relationships, isn't it? Just to leave room for God to do stuff, to transform us, to transform the other person, to change our relationships, to build us together, to make a difference, and that way we can turn enemies into friends. And then he has this interesting bit about feed your enemy, and I just wonder if there's been opportunity that you've had to bless people that have hurt you. As Jesus said, bless and do not curse, to do something positive for someone who's had it in for you. And what the results of that were, and whether it did shame them, cause them embarrassment, and pour burning coals on their head that caused them to go bright red in that way, or whether it was just a delight to them because they found coal, they found found the means of life and cooking and heating and all the other stuff, where we have to give the coal to people who ask for it, even if they're embarrassed because their own coals have run out. Have a good time as you talk about this stuff. Maybe I didn't explain that last bit very well, and you'll need to talk to someone who was at the service on Sunday. But just work out how we can build and mend relationships, and maybe you do need to do that. Maybe there's someone or something, or even within the group, but maybe within the church or within your community, your workplace or neighborhood, that you can act deliberately to not take revenge, to do what's right, to live at peace with everyone, to leave room for God, and to feed your enemy, and see what God does as a result of all of that. Okay, see you in a bit. Hope you have a good time as you talk about this stuff. Bye bye.